Due to low mortgage rates, a lot of people have all of a sudden become landlords or even intentionally purchased real estate as investment properties. And that's why today on the Wealth Cafe, we are going to talk about 1031 exchanges, which is a tax strategy that you can use to help defer taxes on any investment properties that you have. Now, I want to make a key distinction as we hop into today's episode. We are not talking about your primary residence. For a primary residence, just to cover this briefly, you can deduct, if you have lived there 2 of the last 5 years, you can deduct $250,000 in capital gains as a single filer, or up to $500,000 that you can deduct if you are married filing jointly. Reminder, you have to have lived there 2 of the last 5 years. Make sure you're working with your accountant, financial planner, and also estate attorney is a good person to loop in and build out your financial team for any of the strategies we are talking about today, or also any of those strategies I just covered with your primary residence. To kick things off, let's first talk about what a 1031 exchange actually is. To put it nicely, 1031, as we call it, is part of the tax code. In there, it allows you to have a current property, for example, an investment property, that you are then exchanging into a like or in-kind property. Now, I want to go over a couple of key factors that you need to have in order to successfully complete a 1031 exchange. Like I said, make sure you are working with your financial team on this to execute this properly, because it is really essential to hit a couple of key dates that I am going to mention. I'm also going to follow this up with an example and show you the power of this through a couple numbers to really explain to you and break it down how incredible this strategy can be if it is the right fit for you and something that you follow through with to a T. Now, the important thing is to make sure that you are finding a like or in-kind property. That doesn't mean that you need to go from a single family home to a single family home, but it means that you are going from one piece of real estate to another. You can't all of a sudden say, you know what, I'm going to take this piece of real estate and go out and purchase a yacht. Unfortunately, it doesn't work that way, but many people have tried. Now, the first thing to note is you need to start from not even just day 1, but day 0. If you know you are planning to sell this property and you have an appreciation or capital gains that have built up, and you're sitting here saying, you know what, I don't want to bring on this tax bill. I want to find a way that I can pass this off to either the next generation or push things out as far as I can because of multiple different tax reasons. You need to have this plan in place and in motion ahead of time, because these windows happen very quickly. Like I said, day 0 is when you really need to think about, okay, I'm going to want to do a 1031 exchange. I want to get the people in place. So when we find and identify a property that we want to do this with, you are ready and have all of the pieces in motion. The second key date is 45 days out from the sale. So once the sale has occurred, 45 days later, you need to have a property identified that you want to be purchasing and doing the 1031 exchange with. This is a key date to keep in mind. The next key date is 180 days out. You have 180 days from when you sold the property to then purchase this other property. This is important to know. Now, it can happen on day 160, day 100. It just has to happen before day 180. It can't happen on day 181. Unfortunately, you will then lose the benefits of that 1031 exchange. Now, as you're listening to this, you're thinking, okay, there's a lot of nuances. How do I even know if this is something that I should consider? Number 1, talk to your financial team about it and raise this up to them. Say, hey, I heard about a 1031 exchange, or you can send a note to us through the contact section of our website in order to discuss this further to see if it's the right fit for you. Now, I want to give you a great example that I had with a previous client of mine when they were able to successfully do a 1031 exchange. Keep in mind, everyone's situation is going to be different, but they thought about this because they were in a unique situation. They had purchased several properties in New York City, and they were getting ready to retire. They had a beautiful and successful career, and they had also amassed a bit of wealth, quite a bit of wealth that is, in these New York City real estate properties. However, because of their age and the fact that they lived in Connecticut, they no longer wanted to make the trips out to New York City to do things like check on the properties or to have to worry about finding new tenants. It just felt too far away from them as they were entering these golden years. Instead, what they wanted to do was do a 1031 exchange in order to invest in their retirement home that they were going to move into down the road. Now, we had to make sure we were following all of these key dates throughout the process and working with a team and their tax accountant, their estate attorney, attorney to make sure that we were able to successfully do this. We then sold several different apartments and were able to do a 1031 exchange into purchasing their dream home. Now, this was not an easy process. There was a lot of paperwork, there was a lot of communication. However, it allowed them to push and defer this tax burden down the road. Now you're sitting here thinking, okay, we've just pushed this tax burden down the road. At some point, someone has to pay for it. Now, their plan in this client's specific situation was that they wanted this it was a beach house. They wanted this new beach house to stay in the family for hopefully several generations, or at least make it to the next generation. And so through their estate planning, we also looped in their estate attorney to work on the best way that this now asset in their name would then pass on to the next generation. And so at that time, the next generation would then get the step up in cost basis, and therefore they wouldn't have to pay taxes because of the 1031 exchange they did and the step up in cost basis. Keep in mind there's several different nuances here between how much they had in their total estate, the worth of it and value, and how much that they were passing on and saving through the 1031 exchange. Now, to put some numbers behind this, let's give another example. Let's say that they had purchased, and I want to use round, simple numbers for this just so you really understand the concept. Let's say that they had purchased these apartments in New York City for $500,000. I know, quite a steal, something we all wish we could get in New York City right now. So they had purchased these apartments for $500,000 due to projects, maintenance, other things that they were able to deduct. They had a depreciation value of $200,000. That means that their cost basis on these properties was $300,000. Let's say they then sold these properties for $1.2 million. That means we now are going to pay taxes on the difference of $1.2 million to $300,000. Well, okay, not exactly. We do have to add, in terms of this 1031 exchange, we do have to add back some of that depreciation, right around 25%. Keep in mind, this is something they would have to work with their accountant with to figure out how much would actually be recaptured, but for the sake of our example, we're gonna go with 25%. That means they have a cost basis on this property of $350,000. Sounds amazing. In reality, they are going to have to pay a pretty hefty tax bill on that $850,000 worth of capital gains. I got there by taking that $1.2 million they sold for minus that $350,000 cost basis. By doing a 1031 exchange, they are able to now defer the taxes they are going to pay on that $850,000 capital gain. Now, how much they would pay varies depending on state and depending on what state you live in, because I know as you're listening to this, you're applying it to yourself. It's going to depend on what state you live in. It's also going to depend on federal tax rates and what you fall into for capital gains. So make sure you are working with your accountant to figure out if this is beneficial for you. Now, by doing this 1031 exchange, they are then able to pass off and defer these taxes until a later date, or they also then use their estate planning to figure out the way to best defer these taxes, honestly, forever. And by that, I mean they are then getting the step up in cost basis by passing on this beach house to their children. Now, this doesn't work if you're somebody who wants to fully leave the real estate game. If that is something you are looking for and you're sitting here saying, you know what, I'm ready to go into an assisted living facility or enter a nursing home. These are situations that I've seen many times. That's why I offer them up to you. You need to work with your financial team to see what other strategies you can use. It doesn't mean that you are going to be fully stuck with your tax bill and there aren't strategies that you can use, but make sure you're having these conversations early. That is the key, and make sure you are communicating things with your team, like what is the cost basis? What are your plans in the future and going forward, to make sure they can help you identify the strategies that work for you. And if you are working with somebody who says, hey, don't worry about it, we'll address that when we get there, they might not be the right advisor for you. And that is when you need to get a second opinion and say, hey, I think it's time to look at other options, to have tax strategies, and to really build out your financial team. If you fall into that category, feel free to reach out to us on tanisfingroup.com/contact, and we can further discuss what strategies may or may not be applicable to you. Thanks for tuning in, and I look forward to seeing you next time on the Wealth Cafe.